today we're gonna do. Well, in fact, before we continue, let's count some of the names. Let's see how far we've come because there are actually more than 99 names in this book. And by the way, this book is the book النهج الأسماء في شرح الأسماء أو في شرح أسماء الله الحسنى. النهج الأسماء في شرح أسماء الله الحسنى. And that's by Muhammad Al Hamoud and Najdi. Okay, so that's the correct way in understanding the names, the beautiful names of Allah. So let's just try and see if we can count how many names we've actually gone through. So who's going to do the counting? I'll read them out and you guys do the counting, yeah? All right, okay, so we have Allah, Al-Ilah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, 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 Al-Mu'min, العزيز الجبار المتكبر الكبير الخالق الخلاق البارئ المصور الغفور الغفار الغافر القاهر القهار الوهاب الرزاق الرازق الفتاح العليم العالم العلام السميع البصير الحكم الحاكم الحكيم اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم العلي الأعلى المتعال الحفيظ الحافظ الحاسب الحسيب الكريم الأكرم الرقيب الواسع الرب الودود المجيد الشهيد الحق المبين الوكيل الكفيل القوي المتين الولي المولى الحميد الحي القيوم الواحد الأحد الصمد القادر القدير المقتدر. How many we read so far?
70.
الأول الآخر البر التواب العفو الرؤوف ذو الجلال والإكرام الغني الهادي البديع الوارث المحيط القريب الفاطر الناصر النصير المستعان ذو المعارج ذو الطول ذو الفضل الغالب الكافي الشافي الطيب الجميل الوتر الحنان المنان الديان الحيي الستير السيد المحسن.
104.
Wow, we've done more than 99.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That's excellent. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So, yeah, so we've done that. The aim was actually to do 99.
Sorry, the names of Allah that is 99. The extra ones are like other name, like other ways of like saying that exact name, like Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. I don't know. Why is it like there is more than 100 names?
Why is it that there are more than 99 names?
Yeah.
When in the hadith it mentions Allah has 99 names, whosoever memorizes them or whosoever memorizes them and understands them or acts in accordance with them will enter into the Jannah. Who wants to answer that question?
You told us, I think, in one of the first lessons that the 99 names just mean if you memorize 99, not that there is only 99. So if I, let's say, have 10 loaves of bread, I give you 3. That doesn't mean I only have 3 loaves of bread. It means I have 10. I'm just giving you 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
The 99 are like the most beautiful names. And so there are even more names that Allah hasn't revealed to us, but He has them.
How do you know?
Because of the hadith you mentioned where the Sultan, he mentions that he asked Allah by all of His names, the ones we know, the ones that are in His book, the ones that He may have revealed to people other than us, the previous generations, so that implies that they could be names, or it doesn't rule out the possibility that there aren't names that have been revealed to generations before us or to other people.
Excellent.
You said in one of the previous lessons as well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the day of judgment, he will call upon Allah the names that he doesn't know. Yeah.
Sorry, this is unrelated, but if I've already read my witr, when I enter a mosque, should I read to
Again? Say again.
if I've already read my witr and you're not meant to read anything after, should I
Right,
read
okay.
the two for entering the mosque? The two,
You can do, and then you just do your witr again, inshallah.
or you don't have to.
Yeah, you've already prayed. You prayed Isha here, yeah?
Yeah.
خلاص. Prayed Isha. You don't have to do any sunnahs once you prayed. Any sunnahs that you do after the fard is recommended. It's not obligatory.
Even the ones for entering the mosque, the ones you had to do that.
No, it's sunnah mu'akkada. It's highly recommended to do the two before you sit down. Some scholars say that it's wajib, but if you prayed your obligatory prayer, then you don't have to do the two to sit down because you've already prayed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the question was, the hadith mentions that Allah has 99 names. So how is it that, or does Allah have more than 99 names? And the answer is, most of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah say that yes, Allah has more than 99 names. And you can answer that from two ways. You can answer it from the texts of Islam, which is what the brothers did. And you can also answer it from a logical way, which is what the other brother did. So if we look at it from the logical way, a person may have £1 million. No, let's say that you've got £100. Yeah, let's say I got £100 in my pocket. Yeah, and then I'll say £10 for the person who answers the next question. I'll give £10 for the person who answers the next question, or I have £10 for the person who answers the next question. Yeah, so Allah has 99 names. Whosoever memorizes them, or whosoever man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah. Whosoever ahsaha, whoever makes his ihsa of Allah's names, understands them, acts upon them, worships Allah, calls upon Allah with them, will enter into the Jannah. Okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean that Allah only has 99 names. A person can enter the Jannah by learning those 99 names of Allah. But Allah has more than 99 names. How do we know that? Well, we use the texts of Islam. So one of the texts of Islam that the brother mentioned was the hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that I ask you, O Allah, by every name that you have named yourself with, and that you have revealed in your book, or that you have taught someone from your creation, meaning a messenger, or you have kept with you, or that you have kept with you within the unseen, in the hidden. Okay? So that hadith implies that there are names that Allah has named himself with, which he has taught people from his creation, messengers, and that he has sent down in his book, yeah, so in the Quran. And it also shows that Allah has kept some names with him in the unseen. So some of his names have not been revealed. Allah knows what they are. Now then we go to the application, and then there's the hadith that the brother mentioned. On the Day of Judgment, the Prophet ﷺ will, when they seek the intercession, they will go to the different messengers. They will go to Adam, and then they will go to Nuh, and then and each messenger will say, go to other than me. They will remember their shortcomings, and they will say, go to the next one, go to the next one. So they will go to the major messengers. Your people won't just go to normal messengers, they'll go to the major messengers, the Ulul Azm. Yeah? So they'll go to Nuh. Yeah? They'll go to Ibrahim alayhi salam. They'll go to Musa. They will go to Isa. And Isa, even though he doesn't have a sin, even though he doesn't have any shortcomings like that, he will say, go to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So indeed it was for him. Muhammad is the interceder. The Christians like to think of the term Messiah, yeah, as the chosen one. It doesn't actually mean the chosen one. Messiah doesn't mean chosen one. Messiah is from the Hebrew word and the Arabic word meaning Masih, yeah, which means put your hand up.
The anointed one.
Anointed, yeah, it means anointed, yeah, or to anoint. From Masaha, yeah, Masaha means what? To wipe, yeah. Masah ala al-khuffayn, wipe over the khufs.
They used to wipe the head with oil today.
Right. So Masih is one who was wiped. Now, when you anoint, typically someone who was anointed, you put some perfume on them or some oil on them. Kings were anointed, or some prophets may have been anointed, but someone who was given a high status was anointed. Yeah. So he was Masih of Bani Israel. He was the Masih of Bani Israel. So Isa alayhi salam, he was the last major messenger for the children of Israel in order to bring them back to the straight path before the calamity fell upon them and they were replaced with another people.
You said major, but isn't he the last one?
He's the last one, yeah. But he's also the last major messenger before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he is their Masih, and he is the Masih of the Muslimin. Yeah, he's the Masih, but he wasn't the Messiah. Sorry, he was the Masih, meaning Messiah, but he wasn't the Mustafa.
Yeah.
So Masih is anointed. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is al Mustafa. Mustafa meaning the chosen one. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the chosen one. And in their book, there is a verse which talks about the messenger who is the chosen, elect of God. Yeah? In the Bible, yes.
Yeah.
Muhammad is the Mustafa. He is the messenger. Yeah? And he was the one who was going to be the one who the shu'ub, the nations, would be gathered under his flag, would be gathered under his obedience. All of the messengers, he was the messenger to convey and to confirm the message of all of the other messengers before them. He was the leader of the messengers, and he was the youngest of the messengers, the last to come, but the greatest of them. Yeah? And they all foretold of his coming. They all foretold, and it was a covenant upon the prophets and messengers before Prophet ﷺ, that they would tell their people about him, and that if he was sent, that they should follow him and obey him. He's the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of all the Rasul, of all the messengers, he is the Rasul, which is why he has the distinct title Ar-Rasul or Rasulullah. And he is the Nabi. He is the Prophet of the Prophets, which is why he has the distinct title An-Nabi, the Prophet. No one else is known as Rasulullah or An-Nabi other than the Prophet ﷺ as a title, even though all of the rest may have been Rusul of Allah, messengers of Allah, and Anbiya Allah, prophets of Allah. But those titles are distinct for him because he is the one. Of all of them, he's the one. And he's the leader. As he mentioned, Ana Sayyidu Waladi Adam Yawm al-Qiyamah wa la fakhr. I am the master or the leader of the children of Adam on the Day of Judgment, and I'm not boasting in that. In other words, I'm just stating a fact. Allah's made me the leader of mankind. He's the leader of mankind. So on the Day of Judgment, they will go to all the strong messengers, and the strong messengers will not be able to do anything on that day. They will say, go to the next one. Up until they get to Isa alayhi salam. Isa alayhi salam will say, go to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when they go to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he will say, Ana laha. I am for it. Yeah? Meaning, I have the right of intercession. Yeah? Allah has granted me that. And Allah has told Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he has been granted that right and that status. But Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knows that he's an abd. He knows that he is a slave and a servant of Allah. And he knows that Allah is the Malik, the true king. So the slave to the king has utmost respect and utmost obedience and utmost veneration and utmost reverence for the king. So what does he do? He doesn't just say, oh, I'm Muhammad, I am the interceder for mankind. No. Because Allah is the Malik and the Malik al-Mulk, and he's the king on that day. He's always been the king, but on that day it will be so manifest because no one will own anything. No one will have any clothes, and no one will own anything. No money, no clothes, no family allegiance or alliance, no troops, no friends, no gangs, nothing, just yourself. You are miskeen on that day. So what does he do? Allah mentions, Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u 'indahu illa bi'idhnih. Who is it that can intercede for anyone except with his permission, meaning Allah's permission? وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنِ ارْتَضَى. And they will not be able to intercede except for the one whom Allah is pleased with. So there are conditions for the intercession. You can't just intercede. The Prophet is not the only one who will intercede on the day of resurrection. He will intercede, and after that, the messengers will intercede, the angels will intercede, and the righteous will intercede, and so on and so forth. And the last one to intercede will be Allah. And Allah's intercession is the greatest intercession. And it's the one which shows the most mercy. And He saves it till last. But anyway, this is in a long hadith. But the point is that the Prophet ﷺ doesn't just say, I am the messenger of Allah. Allah has granted me the right of shafa'ah, of intercession. Let me go and save the people. No. He knows that these conditions. So the first thing he does is he falls on his face beneath the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he stays there for ages. And he praises Allah with praises such that he had never been inspired with before in the dunya. Yeah? So he praises Allah in a way which he'd never ever praised Allah with before. Now if you think about that and you contemplate on that, if the Prophet ﷺ is the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he's the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's the best of mankind. That he's the Abdullah. Yeah? He's the slave of Allah. The Quran was revealed upon him. The best of revelations was revealed upon him. The best of laws and the best of guidance and ways was revealed upon him. His du'as, his supplications are the most beautiful of supplications that you'd ever find anywhere, in any culture, anywhere on the planet. If you read those du'as and contemplate upon them, they are filled with such beauty. He's the best person that could have ever worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the person that stood in prayer till his bones cracked. You know, the lactic acid would be building up in his legs because he prayed literally nearly all night. He would pray Al-Baqarah in one rak'ah. Yeah? And his bones would crack. And he would weep in his prayer. And he was weeping because of the sins of his ummah and begging Allah to protect his ummah. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. That indeed there has come to you a messenger from among yourselves. It grieves him, it pains him that any sadness or anything bad should befall upon you. And he is he's merciful to the believers. Yeah? The messenger loved the people more than he loved his own self. More than he loved his own self. He was more merciful to the people than he was to his own self. He sacrificed his sleep, yeah, out of praying for the ummah and crying for the ummah. So this messenger that used to worship Allah in that way, crying, standing up at night, forsaking his bed, forsaking food, forsaking the whole dunya, the one who prayed to Allah the most and prayed to Allah in the best way, who chose the most perfect words for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the one who Allah revealed his words to, his glorious words, the Quran. No matter how much the Prophet ﷺ worshipped Allah in this world, Allah will inspire him to worship Allah in ways different to that or better than that on that day when he's underneath the throne. So the scholars have mentioned that in this situation, Allah will teach him new names. Allah will reveal new names to him because he's praising Allah. And from the best ways to praise Allah is that you praise Allah with Allah's names and Allah's attributes. So this is where he will learn more names. So we have now connected the different ahadith with one another, and we've shown the application and the context to other ahadith. So that's a bit of a long answer to your question, but yeah, Allah has more than 99 names. Hopefully you can understand it now, yeah? Well, yeah.
Sheikh, to say, I remember when you spoke about the Bible, as well, and one of the chapters in the Bible where it says that Isa himself says that I am only for the lost sheep of the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it says. He's not, as well, I remember there's another verse where it says as well, a woman came crying to him, asking him to help her son. He said, I'm not somebody who you could ask. I'm only for the Israelites, for the lost sheep of Israelites. I cannot help no one but them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only made for them.
Yeah. So the brother's basically mentioning how Isa alayhi salam differs from the Prophet sallam, and that the Messiah is the one who, the true Messiah, meaning the chosen one, which they've misapplied the term Messiah. The Mustafa was supposed to, the Gentiles The Gentiles, who were the non-Israelites, they would await his law, and the obedience of the Gentiles would be to him, and he would inherit the nations. Which prophet ever did that apart from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Isa alayhi salam didn't even get the obedience of Bani Israel. They plotted to kill him. He never ruled over them, and he never had their obedience as such. He had the obedience of a few groups and so on and so forth, but his people belied him, his people rejected him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. When he returns at the end of time, he will return and he will be a just ruler, and he will follow the law of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it will be the law of Muhammad. There are many other places in the Bible where it mentions that the isles will wait for his law, meaning the law of the chosen one, of the prophet. So there are many different nations, many different places. Likewise in Deuteronomy, it mentions that the Holy One from Faran, and Faran is the mountain range where Ismael left. Where Ismael was left by Ibrahim alayhi salam, and that's where they grew up. The Holy One would come down from Mount Faran with 10,000 saints. This happened in the conquest of Mecca. He came down with 10,000
You
of
can
the
find
Sahaba.
uncountable examples in the Old Testament. I think even if you listen to it in Hebrew, I think maybe it's the Song of Solomon, you can even hear the word Muhammad.
Yeah. And it mentions, and from he will, the Holy One and the Holy One from Mount Faran will come down from the mountain with 10,000 saints, and from his right hand will go a fiery law for them, meaning a strong law, a strong Sharia. Yeah. So there's many different verses showing the Mustafa, but they misinterpreted that and misapplied it to the Messiah. Yeah. Because they said that the Messiah will come from their lineage, meaning the lineage of the Israelites. So we know that they've changed their books. And because they've changed their books, they've misunderstood things and they've misapplied things. So, yeah.
In Hebrew, God is Allah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they still reject it. It's crazy.
I think it is
There's actually a YouTube video of a Jewish rabbi mentioning that he recognizes that Allah is the name for God, the God of the Hebrews, and that Allah is the universal name for God. And if anyone does a linguistic analysis, they will know from the Semitic tongues that Allah is the name for the true God. Ilah is the name for God, and Allah is the name for the God, the deity, the true deity worthy of worship.
It's why even words like hallelujah, I think they said without the H, which is what? Hallelujah.
Well, hallelujah, yeah. I mean, someone said it means ya hallalu, ya hallalu, ya hallalu, ya hallalu. Meaning the tahleel is la ilaha illallah. You know, we say takbir means Allahu Akbar. We say tahmeed is alhamdulillah. We say tasbih is subhanallah. The tahleel is la ilaha illallah. So hallelujah is ya hallalu, ya hallalu, ya hallalu, hallilu, meaning say hallalu, say la ilaha illallah. So it's as though the angels saying, oh, say la ilaha illallah, oh, say la ilaha illallah, ya hallalu, ya hallalu, ya hallalu. This is what some have mentioned. Makes sense. And Allah knows best.
SubhanAllah, it comes from the word Ilahim. Ilahim, which in Hebrew is God.
Ilahim comes from the word ilah. Yeah, ilah again, which say la ilaha illallah. There is no ilah except Allah. Ilahim is a plural of respect. Some say it's a plural of number, but it's actually a plural of respect.
Oh yes, even Muhammadin, the dim, it's like a respect. Respect when it speaks about Muhammad. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, we're going into grammar.
The disbelievers, they just saw this.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
No.
Yeah.
Why did they say, "Oh Father"?
Oh Father.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, that's the English. We would need to know in the Hebrew whether it was mentioned, "Oh Father." We would need to know in the Hebrew that whether it mentioned, "Oh Father," and if it did, then it would be understood in the language of the Hebrews that it wasn't metaphorical. So it wasn't literal. It was metaphorical, if anything. And I actually don't think that it mentioned, "Oh Father." To be quite honest with you, it probably was more Rabb. Yeah, Rabb. Yeah. because Rabb has the connotation of one who raises, just like it mentions in the Quran, that oh my Lord, have mercy upon both my parents, kama rabbayani saghira, as they both raised me when I was a child. Rabbayani, so it has the word Rabb in it. Yeah, tarbiyah, to nurture, to raise. We've gone through this when we studied the name Ar-Rabb for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a father or a mother or a parent cares for, nurtures, cares and nurtures for the child up until it reaches a state of perfection, or up until it can actually fend for itself. Our Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us and cares for us. So it more than likely would have been Rabb, but they have translated it as father.
And the priest, they call him, oh father, as well.
Oh, there you go. They call the priest's father, but they don't look at that as literal. And even in the same book itself, on the same page, it will say, Jesus will say, my father and your father. So,
and it says in different places he's the father of David and etc.
Yeah, so it'll say my father and Jesus will say my father and your father, meaning my Lord and your Lord. So it was never ever, and this is in the English, by the way, so we don't really know what was truly said. But the point is that the same book actually refutes what they're saying. Because if Jesus then says my father and your father, then there's nothing specific about him being a son, literally. And if it is interpreted that he's the literal son, then it must mean that the disciples were sons too, because Jesus confirmed that they were, So it goes against them. And then it also mentions that ye are the children of God. Yeah, ye are all the children of God. So therefore, it means that there is not one son, but there are sons or children. But it was never interpreted like that. And the Christians have never interpreted it away like that. And as the brother also mentioned, throughout the Old Testament, there's many, many, many places where other prophets were called sons of God. Yeah, sons of God, which it just means a righteous person. All it means is someone close to Allah, or they could be from the awliya of Allah. Yeah, they are a saint, they are a prophet, they are from the righteous, they are from the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all it meant. But when you have a foreign culture who takes over, so at that time you had the Romans who had colonized the area of Palestine, or Judea, it was called that time, Judea. The Romans had taken over that area, and the Bani Israel were under their captivity. So Caesar was in control at that time, at the time Isa was around, and they persecuted the followers of Isa alayhi salam. After Isa left, they persecuted the followers of Isa alayhi salam and the rest of the Israelites as well. And what happened. But the point is that eventually the Romans embraced Christianity, and I think that's where the switcheroo happened. That's where you had a foreign people, European people, had taken over a religion, a language, and a culture which was not European. It was not European at all. Yeah, the Israelites were not European in terms of their culture, not in terms of their not in terms of their language, and not in terms of their color, not in terms of their physical features. They were different people. But then you have an alien people that have taken it over, and they mistranslated certain things, misunderstood certain things. They brought things from their own religion and their own culture into, mixed it all up, and that's where you had sons of God and so on and so forth, and that was the beginning of the Catholic Church. And then they canonized things, canonized the books, burnt any of the books which said anything different, or they banned those books which are what are called the Apocrypha, meaning the banned books or the hidden books or the books you're not supposed to read. And you will often find that they differ from the main books which are in the New Testament. And then the rest is history. The religion just became tampered and changed up until you have what you have today. So
that's why you see like clashes in Aqidah even quite early on between like Peter and Paul and things like the Nicene Creed, where you have meetings between church fathers discussing what actually is the theology, the Aqidah. Like, what does it mean that there's a Trinity? What are the exact definitions? They didn't understand themselves.
Well, up until 325, there were, like you mentioned, different groups, different Christian groups that believed different things. So there were from among them those who literally believed that Isa alayhi salam was a prophet, and they were expecting someone else to come after Isa alayhi salam. And then there were other groups that believed different things, and the different church fathers used to hold these different conferences. so that they would discuss, debate among themselves what was the nature of the Messiah. What was his nature? Was he just a man, or was he divine as well? And what was the nature of his mother, Maryam? Was she divine? Was she not divine? They had these debates and so on and so forth. And in the end, one group got dominance over the others. And then definitely when Constantine, who was the Roman emperor, once he became Christian, he made everyone follow his way. And anyone who goes against my way, put to death, so on and so forth. And that's where you get the standardization, and that became the dominant way for ages to come afterwards. The Prophet ﷺ actually acknowledged the minority of the people of truth at his time, or just before his time. That إن الله نظر على الأرض أو سكان الأرض فمقتهم جميعا. إن الله نظر إلى أهل الأرض عربهم وعجمهم فمقتهم جميعا إلا بقايا من أهل الكتاب. Indeed, Allah looked at the inhabitants of the earth, the Arabs from among them and the non-Arabs, and He despised all of them, except a small group who clung to the way, except a small group from the Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the scripture. And it was said that they were the people who were sticking to the way of Isa alayhi salam. They were the people who were sticking to the true way of Isa alayhi salam, waiting for the messenger to come. Yeah, waiting for the messenger to come. And some of them say that that was the likes of Najashi. That was the likes of Najashi in Ethiopia. That when the Prophet came, he recognized the truth and he accepted it. So yeah.
Is he the king? He used to be an emperor of Ethiopia, wasn't he?
And Najashi was the emperor of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Ethiopia was a major empire at that time. They ruled southern Arabia on 2 occasions, and they always had close relations with southern Arabia. And yeah, they had a major empire. The Abyssinian Empire was a major empire for ages. They ruled Egypt for some time, and they always
The generation before him, it was Abraha, wasn't it? Who was the
yeah. But they also came in before Abraha as well. Yeah.
Najashi is not his name; it's the title, isn't it?
Najashi is the title. Yeah, Najashi is the title. He was the emperor of Ethiopia.
You mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like the Ahlul Kitab. Isn't that how Salman al-Farisi
Yeah.
became Muslim?
Yeah.
He found the Prophet.
Yeah. So anyone that's aware of the story of Salman al-Farisi, he was searching for the truth. He was clinging to what he knew from the deen of Isa alayhi salam, and he clung to that, and he was in search of the messenger, and he eventually ended up coming to Medina, meeting the messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So yeah, that's another example. Yeah. Any more questions? I think it's a interfaith discussion. If you want to keep it rolling, we can. If you want, I haven't prepared for it, so but no problem. If this is what is of interest, then we can flow with this if you want, inshallah.
I was just wondering, are we doing An-Nur today?
We were. We were. We can still if you want, inshallah, but if you want to flow with this, I'll go with your interest.
I don't mind.
I say we do at least one name.
Okay. Yeah? Okay. Right, so today we're going to go through another name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, An-Nur. An-Nur. And An-Nur means light, enlightenment, and radiance. Yeah? Light, enlightenment, and radiance. This is what it means in the Arabic language. And it has come in the Quran in one place only, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes himself with this name. And that is in Surah An-Nur, the 35th verse, where Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. So what is meant by this verse? A number of scholars have commented on this, from among them Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, the Imam of the Mufassirin, and he mentioned that Allah being the light of the heavens and the earth, in this ayah, the context of this ayah, it means that Allah is the guidance yeah, or the guider to all of those in the heavens and the earth. هادي من في السماوات والأرض فهم بنوره إلى الحق يهتدون. For indeed the inhabitants of the heavens and the earth, by way of his truth, they are guided. وبهداه من حيرة الضلالة يعتصمون. And by his guidance, they are protected from misguidance, from confusion and misguidance. So the light here is the light of Allah's guidance and the light of Allah's truth. So Allah being Nur in this ayah is in relation, you could say that there's a connection to the name of Allah, Al-Haq, the truth, and Al-Hadi, the guide, the guide. And then there are other scholars that have mentioned other tafasir, and you have from among them Az-Zajjaj or Az-Zajaji. He mentions with regards to the verse, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, meaning أي يهتدي بنوره من في السماوات ومن في الأرض, that the inhabitants or those that are in the creation which exist within the heavens and the earth are guided by his light, أي بآياته وأعلامه الدالة عليه, that they are guided by his signs which point towards him, that point towards him. والبراهين الواضحة النيرة يهتدي أهل السماوات والأرض إلى توحيده, that by way of his manifest signs and his manifest and clear proofs and evidences, the creation within the heavens and the earth are guided to his tawheed, to his oneness, والإقرار بربوبيته, and to confirm his lordship, وتنزيهه من الأنداد والأمثال سبحانه وتعالى. So by way of Allah's signs, his manifest signs and his manifest evidences, and his clear signs and evidences which he has placed within the creation, within the heavens and within the earth, they all, if you contemplate on them and if you study them with a clear heart, they will point back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will lead you back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will lead you back to acknowledge that He is one. He is one in His lordship, and He is one in His attributes, of which He is totally unique without having any partner or having any similitude.
As you said about, if you think about it, because you see similar designs, it's like if you see a painting with the same signature and you see another one with that same signature, you would say that other painting, that new one, is by the same author. Same with creation, when you see that the same physical laws, that the same sort of oxygen and blood systems in every animal, as you said, the same sort of DNA.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection.
And the same signatures, it's by the same author. That's what it points to. That's what it shows.
It's perfection. It's sheer and utter perfection, which leaves you with no other rational option that sense cannot come from nonsense. Yeah. Sense cannot come from nonsense. So all of the sense and system and organization and information that exists within the creation cannot have come by chance. Impossible. It's impossible that it can come by chance. Chance and anarchy doesn't provide a system. System, or something being systematic, is and organized, is the opposite of anarchy and chaos. So with a creation which has a perfect system and an equilibrium, of which if the equilibrium is upset, you will see problems within the creation. Allah set it on a perfect balance. And it's only when we mess around with that we find problems in the earth. We find problems in the environment. When we don't live in the way that we're supposed to live, when the animals don't live within their own ecosystems and habitats, then there's problems for them. But so long as they're doing what they're doing and we're doing what we're doing, and so long as we live the way that we're supposed to live according to the laws that Allah set, then you'll find that for the most part, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
It's like as you said, if I have a pen, then I can give you a pen. But if I don't have a pen, then I can't give it to you.
You can't give what you don't have.
Nature is not intelligent.
فَاقِدُ الشَّيْء لَا يُعْطِيهِ. That you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have it, you can't give it. You can't get something from nothing. You can only get something from something. You can't get sense from nonsense. So the atheists only try to answer the physical part of creation. No matter how stupid the argument is, that this happened to become that and collided with that and so on and so forth. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. Yeah. And I'm talking about evolution of life here. The evolution of life. Yeah. The evolution of life here. It's how can you get life from death? Life comes from life. Life comes from life. You cannot get something from nothing. Allah even mentions in the Quran, were they created from nothing? Or are they themselves the creators?
Yeah.
Were they created from nothing? Well, they know that they were not created from nothing. Or are they themselves the creators? They know that they are not the creators. So therefore, the only other answer is that they were all created from something other than themselves, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? So we mentioned that if indeed you were to contemplate on the signs in the creation, for example, you contemplate on the stars, you contemplate on the sun and the moon, the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You contemplate on your own self and your own physical makeup. You contemplate on within yourself and the different systems that you're made up of. You contemplate on the cell, the individual cell, on a cellular level. The makeup of the cell is more complicated than any human computer by far. And the complication and the information within it is more complex and way more complex than any supercomputer that exists on this planet right now. Every single human design and innovation that exists pretty much exists by us contemplating and trying to replicate what's already in nature. So if you think about the helicopter, that's trying to mimic the bumblebee, yeah, or a fly. You think about the aeroplane, that's trying to mimic the submarine,
Fishes.
whales, fish, dolphins.
A bullet train, a bird's beak.
There you go. So they look at nature, yeah, they look at nature, and they try to mimic that. They look at nature and they try to mimic that. This is what gives them a lot of their innovation. So they're actually looking at something which is perfect, yeah, and then trying to make something which is imperfect and saying, "Wow, look at this." When the real thing is right in front of you. Everyone tries to be so amazed at these so-called AI technology and so-called cyborgs and stuff like that. These machines are, wow, they're so lifelike. They're so, look at what they can do. But yeah, just get a real human. Yeah, it can't do what a real human can do. Yeah. And if you say, well, it actually can. It can memorize way better than a human being, which they probably can. Yeah. It's the computer, but it will only memorize according to its input. Yeah. But it can't do what a human can do. It can't feel. Can't feel. Will never have true emotions and true feeling. Can't. It can guess and it can try to imitate, but it will never be able to feel because it's not alive. It's not alive. Yeah. So where do the feelings come from? So let's move away from the physical. Let's move to the metaphysical. Where do feelings and emotions come from? Because they're real.
The soul, they derive from the soul.
Where's the soul? Where does that come from? What is that? Can't see it, can't taste it, can't touch it, can't smell it. But it's real. Where do feelings come from? Happiness, sadness, grief. It's real. That's why people get married. That's why people feel compelled to get married. That's why wars are fought on account of greed. What's greed? Can't see it, can't taste it, can't touch it, can't smell it. But yet empires will rise and fall on account of this greed. Yeah? Why do you have love, sadness, grief? Why do people take their lives? Why do people get depressed? Yeah? Tiredness. What's that? Can't see it, can't taste it, can't touch it, can't smell it. These feelings, where do they come from? They're real. So, information. What's information? Can't see it, can't taste it, can't touch it, can't smell it. But it's there. It exists in absolutely everything. And if anyone denies the reality of information, they're an ignorant idiot. Yeah? By default. Because it means that they don't know any information. Yeah? They don't know any information. So I'm not trying to be rude there. But information is in absolutely everything. And how would they come to arrive at the decision that there's no information, except that they would have had to have studied to get to an academic level, having studied information, to then deny information. So did you not go to school? Yeah, did you not learn information? Did you not go to college or university to get information? Up until you became this scientist or professor, so now you can say, I think that information doesn't exist. Yeah, after all those years of information. Yeah, yeah. So you'll find that these people, they go round and round in circles because they turn their eyes away from the clear signs and evidences that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in the creation, which in actual fact do point towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As there is a saying, في كل شيء آية تدل على أنه واحد. In everything there is a sign which proves that He is one. So you can actually look at anything around you, and that will be a sign of the existence and the perfection and the power and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you could literally just turn your neck and look at a tree. The blind person will just see something there.
Yeah.
But someone who is reflecting will think, subhanAllah, look at that creation. Look at it, it's actually unique. There's probably not another tree which is growing in exactly the same way, with exactly the same amount of branches and the same amount of leaves. Yeah? And then if you look at the leaf, pick a leaf off and then you look at the structure of the leaf. I mean, many of you probably, when you're doing your GCSEs, you probably would put it, a piece of the leaf underneath the microscope and look at it on a cellular level. And you end up studying it and seeing how crazy and how much information there is in the leaf. Yeah? So what about the whole tree? What about the roots of the tree? What about the system that's within the tree? And how the tree grows and how it repairs and how it comes back season after season. You know, reflect upon the signs of Allah.
And we only have like this very, very, very surface level. For example, the tree things, all trees, a lot of nature is connected through like networks of mycelium, which is like a fungi, it's like a biological neural network. They sort of connect with it. So this is like cutting edge science. You're only starting to know this. But I'm just trying to show you there's like too many things. We only know like the very surface level, like just the tip of the mountain, just the first meter, when there's like a whole kilometer below. So
Absolutely.
even with the tree, there's still like.
Yeah, and that's just you just turning your head and looking at the tree. What about if you look up at the clouds? And then you see that from a distance, the clouds, they go on high up, but they're flat. It's like there's an invisible ceiling. And you're like, what's making them flat at the bottom? There's obviously some type of pressure. There's some type of system that exists. Some physics that's happening, which is causing a barrier for the clouds. I ain't got a clue what it is. But the point is that you can look at the creation and you can marvel at it in a general way and in a detailed way. And it will prove that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists and that He's all powerful. In fact, one of these steps, not one of the steps, but one way that you can improve your well-being is to go out and be in nature. Go out, be among greenery. Go for a walk in the park. Go to a nature reserve. It wakes up your fitrah. Yeah, you become more in tune with nature because you're supposed to. Yeah, it wakens you up inside, and you will just marvel at the beauty of the creation. Indirectly, unknowingly, you will just, in being one with nature, it actually resets the clock, so to speak. So we're pretty much cooped up in buildings where we're in apartments, we're in houses, we're in buildings surrounded by windows and walls and stuff most of the time. Most of you are on your PS4 24 hours a day. Yeah. So you don't get to experience nature, and then you have an artificial life. There's an artificial life where it's just phones and phones and phone screens and tablets and laptops and computers and TVs again and games and then more games and then the latest games, and then there's rooms, and then you go to college or you go to school or you go to work and you're in an office or you're in the car, and it's just from one place to another place, but you're rarely in anything natural. So you're just living an artificial life.
In this isolated environment.
Yeah.
Would you say nature is then food for the soul?
I mean, it helps the soul. So if you want to say food for the soul in that nature helps the soul, yeah, reflecting upon nature, reflection upon it. And Allah tells us to do that. أَفَلَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبْلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Do they not look at the camel, how it was created? وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ. And at the sky, how it is raised? وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Yeah, and the earth, how it has been laid flat. وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ. And the mountains, how they've been erected. وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. And the earth, how it has been flattened. Yeah. So Allah tells us in the Quran to reflect on His creation. When you do that, and you do it with a sincere intention, with a clear heart, you'll come to the realization that, wow, you'll come to either you'll come to like, at the least, that's why doctors love their profession. They're amazed with the creation. Scientists are amazed with the creation. It's just the only thing that they don't do is join the dots to get to the end result. They choose to say, oh, we don't believe that there's a God because we haven't seen it, we haven't smelt it, we haven't tasted it or touched it. We haven't confirmed it with our five senses, so therefore we deny it. Which is, I mean, whoever said that something has to agree with the five senses for it to be real? We just mentioned about happiness and feelings and the soul, information.
They can't do that last deductive step.
No, it's they don't want to.
They don't want to. Yeah, I've actually.
They don't want to,
It's
which
not-
is the
yeah.
whole meaning of a kafir, kufran, kufr, to conceal, to cover,
To hide.
so they to hide. So they don't want to. They cover over that acknowledgement for whatever reason it is. For whatever reason it is, whether it's because they become disillusioned with religion due to the way that the religious practices have happened within their culture, within their countries at a certain period of time, and then they wipe all of the religions with the same brush, whether it's because of that or whether it's for personal reasons and personal motivations. Allah knows best. But the thing is that they know and they cover over that. Or they know the logical deduction. Or they know or recognize the logical conclusion, but they choose to cover over it. They choose to cover
They
over
go
it.
with the more illogical.
Which is why they find it uncomfortable to talk about and to debate about it. And they will just say, oh, you guys believe in spookism. Yeah? You guys believe in a spook.
Like they do a false argument, like.
But then in the same breath, they will say, but there is potential the existence of aliens. And then we say, have you ever seen an alien? Have you ever tasted an alien? You ever touched an alien? Smelt an alien? No. But we believe they possibly could exist because of A, B, and C. Go away. Yeah.
There's 2 points. I don't know if it's good, but like one of them's like in science they believe in everything's made of like atoms, these small like things. Like you just said, they've never seen it, never smelt it, never touched it, never heard it. And then you can't see it with a microscope, but I'm telling you, the whole science they teach is based on that.
Okay, what about energy? So when you want to talk about on a molecular level, on an atomic level, and on a compound level, for certain things, for certain atoms or compounds to stay together or elements to stay together, they need a certain amount of kinetic energy. So where does the energy come from?
Back to college. I wanted to say
Where's energy? You can't see energy, you can't taste energy, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you just know it's there. It's a power. So if that doesn't exist, then compounds can't exist and so on and so forth. So it's, again, they want to pick and choose what they want to confirm and what they don't want to confirm. And in reality, our role is just to, Allah has given everyone a pair of eyes, a heart, a brain, meaning a mind, and Allah has given them ears, a pair of ears, and Allah has given them 2 lips and a mouth from which to speak. So, and Allah has placed His signs within the creation, and Allah has given us, blessed us with an intellect to comprehend, and Allah has blessed us with hearts upon which to comprehend. People might know, but they may not always be blessed with sincerity. And it's the sincerity that will cause you to acknowledge the truth. The insincere person, the lack of sincerity, they might be a knowledgeable person. They may be able to recognize and identify all the, well, not all the signs, but many of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because of their insincerity, they will not necessarily convey that, say it, manifest it, propagate it.
100%. You could have an old woman who's not, the most intelligent, but she understands more science. Then you could have a polymath who's 10 times as intelligent, but he doesn't have any of that hidayah or hikmah. He has much more intelligence, but none of those are that.
Yeah. And sometimes people give away guidance for fame and popularity and fortune and status. So in order to actually confirm and say that yes, I believe, or yes, they would rather say no because it's not the popular thing to be done, and it might reduce them in their status and popularity. Whereas in their actual heart of hearts, they know the weakness of their arguments. They know the weakness of their arguments.
I mean, you've got like the prime example in the Sirah with that we have Abu Jahl and you have, for example, Bilal, radiallahu anhu, where Bilal was just a slave at the time, so he wasn't like quite low status, maybe not as intelligent. Abu Jahl, like his name before was I think Abu Hakim, and he's the father of wisdom, I think it was.
Carry on.
So he was like quite high up in society. It wasn't like he was a stupid person. He was quite an intelligent businessman as such. But even despite that, it was to no avail. To no avail. He had very little wisdom, you could say, despite his name. That's why his name was like. Well, he was later called Abu Jahl because he was ignorant. But like you were talking about having intelligence and understanding and wisdom and how that plays into. I thought that was a good comparison.
Yeah. So, yeah, a person who's intelligent doesn't necessarily mean that they're wise. You can have a very intelligent person who's very foolish, very stupid. Yeah, you can. You actually can. Yeah, wisdom is knowing how to use something. Yeah, so wisdom is knowing how to use that knowledge contextually, knowing how to use that knowledge, how much of it to use, when to use it, with whom they should use it with, why they should use it. Yeah, so they know when, how, why, and so on and so forth. They know how to apply. They have the application of that. So someone with knowledge can be actually very dangerous. Yeah, knowledge in the wrong hands is very dangerous. Yeah, so it takes it's the wise person who's the blessed one. Yeah, the wise person is the one who's blessed by way of their knowledge. Yeah, and in fact, the Prophet ﷺ used to seek refuge from knowledge which was not beneficial. أعوذ بالله من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع ودعاء لا يسمع. That he mentioned that, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from unbeneficial knowledge, knowledge which doesn't benefit me, and from a heart which doesn't fear you, and from a dua, a prayer or supplication which you do not answer. So this shows how the Prophet viewed knowledge. Spend your time in seeking beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge, yeah? Knowledge which will benefit you, knowledge which will benefit your family, knowledge which will benefit the world, yeah? Your community and so on and so forth. Okay, yeah?
Just a bit of a random just an example I made it. Let's say you like coffee and you wanted to start a hobby and you want to learn how to make the different types of coffee. Does that class as unbeneficial knowledge? Because it's not really benefiting you, but it's something you like.
No, I mean, why is that? I mean, you've got there's two types of knowledge. There's knowledge of the deen, which is the praised knowledge in the Quran and the Sunnah. So you have the knowledge of the religion, then you have the knowledge of the affairs of the dunya, affairs of the world, which is absolutely fine as well. The Prophet ﷺ used to encourage the companions to do agriculture and to harvest and to do the harvesting of the date palm trees and so on and so forth. So, and he mentioned Antum a'lamu bi umuri dunyakum, that you are more knowledgeable about the affairs of your dunya. Yeah. So, and that's a hadith in Bukhari where the Prophet gave advice to one of the companions about to do something with the dates, maybe harvest them at this time or something, and they did it, and it didn't reap the right type of harvesting. And then the companions mentioned that we would have done it like this or so on and so forth. And the Prophet said, Antum a'lamu bi umuri dunyakum. You are more knowledgeable about the affairs of your dunya. In other words, the things that you guys are specialists about, that's for you. Yeah. My speciality is the revelation. So I just gave you my opinion. That's all. I gave you my opinion as a man, as an Arab from your community who understands the truth. Just gave you my opinion. That was it. I wasn't giving you revelation. I wasn't giving you an order from revelation. So you obeyed me by way of me being the messenger, but I'm just letting you know it was just my opinion. Yeah? In actual fact, you guys know more about your speciality. You know more about the affairs of your dunya. Prophet ﷺ would seek counsel and guidance from his companions in certain areas. He would give them He would ask for their guidance in certain affairs in terms of war and in terms of strategy because they were specialists in it. Khalid ibn al-Walid was a specialist in it. So he would seek counsel and guidance in the affairs which were not in relation to revelation. So in the areas that he did not receive revelation, if he felt that there was a need, he would refer to people who had specific knowledge in that area. So by all means, yes, you don't always have to just study the affairs of the deen. By all means, you are from this world. So you need to study about the things which will help you in this world, things which will help your family, help your people, help your community, help your nation, help the ummah, help the planet, help the animals, and so on and so
It's
forth.
like two different elements, single the weaker, but combined the stronger.
Yeah, they're complementary. Yeah.
I think there's a hadith where Rasul Sallallahu was talking about
Islam-
in context
Well,
with
that's
with wasting time. So I think the companions asked him, Sallallahu like what is classed as wasting time or what is not. And I think he gave four things which were not classed as wasting time. One was like shooting. Another one was like tending to horses, looking after them or riding them. Another one was spending time with your family.
Mhm.
The last thing he mentioned was swimming.
Mhm.
I think that comes into relation with also like we talk about wasting time or like unbeneficial knowledge.
Mhm.
So then he kind of stressed on those things. I think specifically playing with your family or spending time with your family, you stress that a bit more.
Okay, so in all of those things, there's benefit. Yeah, none of them are recitation of the Quran and sitting down in circles of knowledge.
Yeah.
They're all affairs of the dunya, but you can see that there's benefit for either that person physically, i.e. swimming, it's a life skill as well. And also in terms of the family, in terms of spreading love and building the relationships within the family household. And also the fact that it's a charity, spreading happiness and warmth within the house. It's a charity, so you get the good deeds by way of that. Looking after your beast or riding your beast or training your beast and so on and so forth, that's good not only for yourself but for traveling. That's also good in terms of for security and warfare, for trade. So in all of those things that were mentioned, you will see you can see a personal need, a community need, maybe even a state need when it's all combined together, and a religious need as well. Yeah.
So in like today's time, like for example, you translate that beast right into like cars and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. That doesn't mean you should be joyriding.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Sheikh, is it Sheikh, I'm studying science. For me, I want to be famous in any way where it causes discussion between the people that I maybe because of Allah, then me, I got somebody to Islam. So I'm thinking of two things. Look, science is something really big. I could be like somebody like Elon Musk if I wanted, if Allah wills, obviously. And I could create discussion and I could convert people into Islam. But sir, I want to as well to be a soldier. I want to be like I used to read a lot about Ibn Khalid ibn Walid. So I want to be a soldier, a commander. But here I have to live here 5 years. So after 2 years, I have the choice of being a scientist, continuing to my science, or training to be a soldier. Is training to be a soldier halal in here?
I'm not going to talk about anything about soldier, and I'm going to talk about anything military related, anything in terms of coercion,
Yeah.
anything in terms of physical.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning anything about that whatsoever, because that can just go upside down, right? So, but as for the scientist issue, so I'm not encouraging you or discouraging you from anything in relation to that, because I actually don't know the specific thing what you're referring to, and that's better for me. As for the scientist thing, then without a shadow of the doubt, I mean, learning science is learning the signs of Allah. Science is learning about the creation of Allah. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you have to be an atheist in order to learn science. You can learn science in order to do research. You can learn science in order to change what are commonly accepted theories. And just for your information, that the science community isn't just one community. There are different camps. Yeah, there are different groups and sects within the science community, and there are groups and sects within the science community that are religious and that do have a religious basis, and they have research to back that as well. It's just that the money doesn't back them. and the major journals and the major science institutes don't back them. The money backs the yeah. So there's politics within science. Yeah. And that's probably why, most people that make it, if you want to make it in science, you've got to be in that camp. Yeah. So there's politics within science. But if you're just talking about for the love of science and research and so on and so forth, then science, there's many Muslim scholars throughout the ages that were the best of scientists, the best of doctors, the best of scientists that studied the different types of sciences. So yeah, you've got a perfect example in the Ummah of Al-Islam.
Is it haram if I become a soldier in this country? Because just as a question, because
What's your name?
No, I think maybe just
Ask-
someone of knowledge.
Ask someone of knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm not knowledgeable about this. I have no information. I don't know information. Allahu Alam.
Mine is, for somebody who walks around a lot and doesn't admire Allah's creation, there's 1 hour surah sad, has a Allah. Yeah, that you reflect that this is the creation of Allah. Then you've got Al-Fil. When you look at the birds straight away, Al-Fil, you remember it, do shukr to Allah. They saved the Kaaba, they saved everything because by the will of Allah. It's just understanding. So if people understand it better and seek knowledge through the Quran and understanding it, that's where the aspect of life, loving the Quran, you love to love Allah.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah, mashallah. Absolutely, yeah. Some very, very good questions and some very good contributions today. Very, very good. You've added a very interactive and participant-centered aspect to this.
discussions.
No, it's great. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Mixed religions to scientists. to
Well,
science,
you actually linked that stuff. A lot of your questions there was linked to the interpretation of Imam al-Zajjaji, where he mentioned that Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, meaning that by His guidance, the creation of the heavens and the earth are guided to His tawheed, to His oneness, and by His clear evidences and signs and proofs that show His creation, or that cause His creation to confirm and agree that He is their Lord, or that He is the true Lord, and that there isn't anything that is like Him or similar to Him. He's unique. He's unique in His power, in His information, and in absolutely everything. Yeah, and because of that, the logical conclusion, therefore, is that He's the only one who should be worshipped. Yeah, He's the only one who should be worshipped by way of that. And that's why you find that Allah mentions this so many times in the Quran, page after page after page. Do you not see the one who's Allah sends down the rain from the skies? Allah's showing you all of His different signs so that you show your gratitude, or that you recognize Allah's power. Yeah, and by way of that, you know that none of these idols, these wooden idols, the trees, stones, sun and the moon, human beings that have been worshipped throughout the ages, none of them can do these things. But if Allah is the one who's doing these things, then what sense does it make to worship other than Allah? And oh, how much sense it makes to worship Allah. So those who do not worship Allah, it's like they're going against common sense for culture. For culture. So most of the people who go against their better knowledge, better judgment, and they go against their common sense, and they go against logic, the natural logic, they only do so because of their culture. Because in doing so, they will be embarrassed because they're going against the popular culture of their land or their city or their country or their time. Everyone's on this opinion. I can't go against that. Or they're going against their people. The culture of their people, their ethnicity. The people of my country or my mum and dad's country, they're on this. I've been raised upon this. I can't go against that, even though I know it's the truth, but I can't go against it. That's the same as what Abu Talib, the Prophet was telling him at his deathbed, say La ilaha illallah, kalimatan uhaju laka biha inda Allah. Oh my uncle, say La ilaha illallah. It's a word upon which if you say this statement, I can argue on your behalf before Allah. And then he would look and he would see his brother. Yeah? And his brother would say, Atarghabu an millati Abdul Muttalib? Are you going to die upon a religion other than Abdul Muttalib, your father? Reminding him of the prestige and the respect of the family name and the culture and the veneration of the idols and the Kaaba, and you are Qurashi, you are Quraysh al-Hashimi, you are the son of Abdul Muttalib. He is the Imam of Mecca, the great Abdul Muttalib. You're his son. Are you going to turn your back on your father and die on a religion and a way other than his way? And the Arabs are united under him. So he's like, oh, I can't do that. And he look at the Prophet, and the Prophet say, with tears coming down his eyes, Ya ammi qul la ilaha illallah. Oh, my uncle, say la ilaha illallah. And he believed in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He believed in it. He knew that the Messenger was true. He said it. He wrote poetry. And he mentioned it. They've got a poem of Abu Talib where he mentions that, but indeed I know that the religion of Muhammad is the best of religions of mankind. And if it wasn't for fear of my people rebuking me and speaking ill against me, if it wasn't for fear of losing my reputation, then you would have surely seen me manifesting the truth of my nephew. But he didn't do it because in the end, he chose to stay on the culture and the way of his forefathers because of his reputation and his ego. So he died as a disbeliever. Yeah. So the point is that what causes people to reject the truth often is their culture. They will go against their better knowledge and their better judgment because of their culture, because of their culture, meaning the culture of their time, their place, their family, their parents. Yeah.
I think it says exactly that, Surah Al-Baqarah, like when it comes and says about the Dhul Qarnayn, he spoke before like I think it is like the 105th ayah. It says like remember it says like the only people who does not believe in me. It is there's two reasons. It is that they worship what their forefathers worship, or the punishment of Allah comes before they believe. Something like that, I think.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. But it's in many places in the Quran. Yeah, when Allah mentions that, and when it is said to them to believe, they say, no, we will follow what our forefathers were upon. We will stick to what our forefathers were upon.
So the question is linked to what you said, sorry. You said about the Kaaba and they used to shirk around there, right? Didn't you say before, I can't remember what it was, but you know how when we go around the Kaaba, we say Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, right? Did the polytheists at the time have like different version of that? Do you mind like telling?
Yeah, so in Hajj, you know that it's the sunnah to say Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik, inna alhamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. So that means, here we are, O Allah, answering your call. Here we are. Here we are, answering your call without ascribing any partners to you in worship. Indeed, all praise is due to you, and all of the mulk, the dominion and sovereignty is for you alone without having any partners. Beautiful. Tawheed. But the pagan Arabs used to say before the Prophet ﷺ, before the revelation, when they would make Hajj, they would say, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika lak, illa sharikan huwa lak, tamlikuhu wa ma malak. So they would say, here we are, O Allah, answering your call. Here we are. Here we are, answering your call without ascribing any partners to you, except a partner that you own, except a partner that you own and control. Yeah, except a partner that you own and control. So in other words, they were making shirk with Allah, but saying that Allah is the major God, and these are mini gods or little gods. Yeah, Allah controls them. Allah owns them, and Allah controls them. Yeah. Yeah.
It reminded me of the Hinduism.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
One center god, but there is an elephant god, there is a woman with 1 trillion heads.
Yeah.
So the Hindus believe everything is
Allah
God
says,
is
ما
real.
نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, but the brother mentioned the ayah that they would say, the pagan Arabs, that we only worship these little idols or these mini gods. We only worship them so that they get us closer to Allah. So they get us closer to Allah. But they have no authority, permission to do that from Allah. No messenger came to tell them to do that. It's not from the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam. It was nothing more than from their own opinions and their own invention. In actual fact, it was from them blindly following other people. So when what's his name? What's his name?
The guy that brought idols into.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. But it wasn't he seen as a righteous person at the time?
Ibn Luhay.
Amr ibn Luhay.
Amr ibn Luhay. Yeah. When he went to Sham area, Damascus, Palestine area,
Yeah.
he saw people having idols, and he thought, oh, that looks good, and these people, they look like they're doing well. Yeah, it looks like this has brought them prosperity, and they seem to be people that we look up to, and this is what they're doing. Those idols look good. This is what they're doing. I'll take a few back to Mecca. And when he took it back, he was a leader of the people, and he made the people worship those idols. So he was the first one to introduce idolatry back into the Arabian Peninsula.
I think he was quite a very charitable person as well. It's just like he was deemed as quite a righteous person. And the Sahaba asked about him, where is he? And the Prophet ﷺ said, he said hellfire, and then he explained exactly what you explained, where he brought idolatry back into Mecca, and that's the main reason. Because even though he's charitable, and such his good deeds were null and void at the end of the day because there's no tawheed.
Yeah, he was the one that contradicted the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Before that, they were upon tawheed, and obviously you can imagine after that there were still people of tawheed there, but it was the beginning of the battle between the muwahhidun and the mushrikun, and eventually shirk got ascendancy over tawheed. But there were still some muwahhidun at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. There were still some people that were upon the original way, the way of the Hanif, yeah, the Ahnaf, yeah, the way of the monotheists. They were still upon the way of Ibrahim and Ismael alayhi salam. Yeah, a few, but there were only few in number. And the Prophet ﷺ used to praise them. He praised them. Most of them passed away before him. Okay, just to complete. So we mentioned that most of the scholars have interpreted that verse, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, as Allah is the guide of the heavens and the earth, and that Allah is the truth of the heavens and the earth, upon which the creation is guided by way of that truth, and they are protected from harm and misguidance by way of the truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Sa'di mentions here that Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, الذي نور قلوب العارفين بمعرفته والإيمان به. That Allah is the light of the heavens of the earth, in that He enlightens the hearts of those who wish to believe in Him by way of having Iman in Him. وَنَوَّرَ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ بِهِدَايَتِهِ. And that He enlightens or gives light to the hearts of those by way of His guidance. وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنَارَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ بِالْأَنْوَارِ الَّتِي وَضَعَهَا. And He's also the one who has provided light to the heavens and the earth with the lights that He has placed therein. Obviously talking about the stars and the sun and the moon. He's placed these things as means of light for the heavens. وَحِجَابُهُ النُّورِ. And the barrier of Allah is also light. The barrier of Allah is also light. لو كشفه لأحرقت سبحات وجهه ما انتهى إليه بصره من خلقه. That if He, Allah, was to remove that barrier between Him and His creation, and that barrier is light, if He was to remove that barrier, then the light from that barrier and the glory and the light and the power from that barrier would burn up that, or would destroy that which Allah can see from His creation. Meaning it would destroy the creation. That barrier is a protection for the creation due to the power and the glory and the magnificence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that barrier is light. So when the Prophet ﷺ was taken up through the seven heavens on the night journey, some of his companions asked him, did you see your Lord? Because he spoke to his Lord above the seven heavens when he was given the five prayers. And in an authentic hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Anna arahu, an-nur, anna arahu. Or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he said, how could I see him? I could only see light. I could only see light. Yeah? So, this is what Imam al-Sa'di has mentioned by way of light of the heavens and the earth. That is, that Allah is the one who gives light to the hearts of the people who believe in Him by way of giving them Iman, allowing them to believe in him, blessing them with true faith in their hearts, and blessing them with guidance in their hearts, and also by giving them the light of guidance, and also by placing light within the heavens, meaning the sun, the moon, and the stars, and also that Allah's barrier is light, upon which, if that barrier of light was removed, then it would burn, it would destroy the creation, it would destroy that which his eyesight can see, which shows the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, there were some scholars, and from among them is Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, who mentioned that all of those interpretations are fine within that context, but they also say that it doesn't prevent that Allah is light, that Allah is a light in a way which befits His majesty. So we don't know how that light is, we don't know how that is with Allah, but Allah has described Himself as having light. And the evidence that He uses for this is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's a dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he mentions أعوذ بنور وجهك الذي أشرقت له الظلمات وصلح عليه أمر الدنيا والآخرة, that I seek refuge in the light of your face, that which gives light to the darkness and causes and rectifies the affairs of this life and the next life. So in this hadith, there is the light, I seek refuge in the light of your face, the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is confirmation that Allah is light or has light. And in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentions, Anta nuru samawati wal ard wa man fihin, that you are the light of the heavens and the earth, and whatsoever is in it, or whosoever is in it. And there is also an ayah which Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah uses as well. I'm just trying to find it right now. وَأَشْرَقَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِنُورِ رَبِّهَا, and the earth will be radiant with the light of its Lord. And the earth will be radiant with the light of its Lord. And then there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَلَقَ خَلْقَهُ فِي ظُلْمَةٍ, that indeed Allah created His creation in darkness, وَأَلْقَى عَلَيْهِمْ مِن نُورِ, and that He caused His light to fall upon them. فَمَنْ أَصَابَهُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ النُّورِ, so whosoever receives some of that light, اهتدى, they would become guided. وَمَنْ أَخْطَأَهُ ضَلَّ, and whosoever didn't, they would be misguided. And that hadith is sahih, it's in Sahih Muslim. So we can see that an-nur, as it relates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah being the nur an-nur, that He is the one who guides His creation, and He is the one who places truth in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and whatsoever is between them and above them. His creation is created in truth, as He has mentioned, and He's the one who blesses His chosen servants with the light of guidance and the light of Iman. And He's also the one who has placed in the heavens and the earth light, the sun and the moon and the stars. And He's also the one who created the angels from light. And He's also the one whose barrier is light. And other scholars have also mentioned that He Himself is light. His face is light. And they've mentioned the hadith that the Prophet sought refuge in Allah, sought refuge in the light of Allah's face. And also the fact that the earth would become radiant with the light of its Lord. And Allah knows best. And with that, do you have any questions? Not necessarily, but any questions in relation to light? Okay. So, if anyone thinks that the Prophet ﷺ is a light, then yes, he is a light. But in what context would that be? Guide, exactly, a guide. For indeed, the scholars have interpreted one of those verses that Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, that Allah is the guide of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the one who provides guidance to the heavens and the earth. Now, if the messenger of Allah is the messenger of Allah, delivering the message of guidance and the information from Allah, then he's bringing light from, if Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth by way of that meaning, and he's bringing that information to the creation, then he by default is also light, because he's also guiding the people as well, because he's the messenger of Allah. Yeah?
No.
So it doesn't mean that he is divine in any way. Yeah? So he's a guide, as has been conveyed in the other ayats. Yeah? That he's a guide to mankind. وَمَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَى الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. And it is only for the messenger to clearly convey the message. Yeah? And also the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically mentions to the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. Indeed, you, Muhammad ﷺ, you do not guide whom you will. Or you do not guide who you wish. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. But it is Allah who guides whomsoever He wills. And Allah revealed that when the Prophet, when his uncle Abu Talib died. Yeah? When his uncle Abu Talib died, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that ayah, saying, indeed, you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you do not guide whom you will, but it's Allah who guides whom He wills. It's Allah who guides whom He wills. So Allah is showing who is the Lord, who is the true Malik, who is the owner of guidance. It's not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's just the messenger, but he's the best of messengers.
That would have broke him, man. That would have broke him completely. So he loved Abu Talib, and he obviously trying to convey the message, and obviously that only comes to Allah. Allah, guides the person, and he's probably reflected like.
Yeah, it broke him. That in that year, Khadija died as well, radiallahu anha.
Oh, bloody.
Yeah, and I think he was stoned by the children of Ta'if.
Taif.
Yeah, and his sandals were filled with blood. So many things happened in that year, and that was his lowest time in his life. So when you think about depression, stress and depression, that was the lowest time that the Prophet ﷺ had. And that was the time that Allah raised him to his highest.
Allah.
Look at the
Tables turn.
yeah. Look at the doubleness of it. At the Prophet's lowest moment, Allah raised the Prophet ﷺ to his highest.
Allah.
Literally. Laylatul Isra wal Mi'raj.
Yeah.
Raised him up through the heavens to places where not even the angels have gone, to speak to Allah in His divine presence.
Allah.
Yeah? SubhanAllah. Amazing, huh? It is amazing. It is truly amazing. So yeah, any more questions with relation to that? Yeah?
Okay, you know, they say there's a scent when we go open a Miraj, and it's I don't know if you know. They say it's from the lady who combed the hair of Pharaoh's daughter. I don't know if you know about it.
I've never heard of that.
I don't know.
I've never heard of that. As for the question, again, in relation to people saying about the Prophet ﷺ being made from light,
Yeah.
then the Prophet ﷺ explicitly mentioned what human beings are made from. Yeah. So خُلِقَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ مِن نُور, that the angels are created from light. وَخُلِقَ الْجَانُ مِن مَارِجٍ مِن نَار.
Yeah.
أو خُلِقَ الْجَانُ مِن نَار.
Yeah.
That the jinn are created from a smokeless fire or smokeless flame. وَخُلِقَ آدَمْ مِمَّا وُصِفَ لَكُمْ. And Adam was created from that which has been described to you, meaning turab, the dirt, the earth. So Adam was created from the earth, and from Adam and Hawa, from Adam and his wife, men and women were created. So the Quran tells us how the rest of mankind were created by way of sperm and the egg. Yeah?
Yeah.
So Allah mentions that in the Quran, how we are created. And the Prophet ﷺ had parents. Yeah, he had parents. He had parents. So the Prophet ﷺ isn't light.
Yeah.
He's made of what we're all made from. He's just a human being, but he's the best of human beings. He is Al-Mustafa. Yeah? He is Al-Mustafa. Okay?
Oh yes, according to that, the masjid down there, they have as well like 100 names of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So is that something that we should learn about? Or?
I've never known him to have 100 names. I know that in the hadith there are a number of names that he had, but he didn't reach 100. Didn't reach 100. Maybe go on Sahih Bukhari and see that. I think there was probably about 6 names. 6 names. He's Muhammad, he's Ahmed, Hashir, and there are other names that he had, but I can't think of them literally right now. But yeah, it didn't reach anywhere close to 100. But Allah knows best.
A question relating to the Isra and Mi'raj. Some people have said that they use it as evidence that the dead can hear you. As they say that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke to Ibrahim alayhi salam, he also spoke to Musa alayhi salam, and they also say that how originally it was 50 prayers that Allah prescribed for us, and then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came past Musa alayhi salam, and Musa alayhi salam told him to ask Allah to reduce it. They try to say that that's evidence that we can ask the people who passed away for help. What would you say?
You get the question? You get the question?
Sorry, we did listen to
So what the brother's saying is that some people use the story or the event of the night journey where the Prophet went up through the heavens and he met different prophets and messengers. Yeah, and he spoke to them. Yeah, and he spoke to Musa when Allah made the prayer obligatory upon him and he was coming down through the heavens and he would pass Musa. Musa would say, "Go back to your Lord and ask him for a reduction. For indeed, I was tested with Bani Israel. Go back and get a reduction if you can. Ask your Lord for a reduction." So the Prophet would go back up, and it's happened a few times. Now the prophets and messengers, they're dead. Yeah, they're dead. And also when he went to Masjid al-Aqsa and he prayed with the prophets, he led the prophets in prayer there. So it shows his status that he is the leader of the prophets. He's the Imam al-Anbiya. He led them all in prayer. The brother mentioned that some people say that this story, this event, is a proof that the dead can hear, and I'm assuming that they're using that as a proof that you should call upon the people in the graves. Yeah. Well, the first thing that can be mentioned is that the hadith or the story of the I'raj or the Mi'raj of the Prophet ﷺ, where he went up through the heavens. This is from the Alim al-Ghaib. This is from the unseen. This is the world of the unseen. So the Prophet was taken up through the world of the unseen. Something which we are not aware of and something which we have no control over the laws of how that works. Okay? You can see people in your dream. Yeah? You can see people in your dream. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're physically with you. So this is all from the affairs of the unseen. Now the affairs of the unseen shouldn't be used as a measuring stick for what we do in the scene. That's one thing. That was a blessing to the Prophet ﷺ, and that's from the affairs of the unseen and in the realm of the souls. Okay, so the Prophet told us, and because he's the messenger, we say, we hear and we obey. We believe what you said. Yeah. As for the hows and the whys, we don't necessarily go into that. If the Prophet ﷺ, and here's the big refutation. Yeah. If the Prophet ﷺ deduced from the journey that he went on, he went up and he met those prophets and messengers. So who would have understood that journey the best? Himself or some imam?
Himself.
Yeah, some imam in the 21st century or whatever. Who's going to understand that night journey best? Who's going to understand that experience best? The Prophet ﷺ himself who went through it and experienced it? Or some guy later on?
Himself.
The Prophet ﷺ. He actually spoke to them. So in the Prophet ﷺ understanding what happened and in the Prophet ﷺ experiencing that personally, did he ever once tell the people to call upon Musa?
No.
Did he once tell the people to call upon Ibrahim?
No.
Did he once tell the people to call upon Isa? Did he once tell the people to call upon Musa? Did he tell them to call upon Harun? Ilyas? And he met how many prophets and messengers as he went up through the heavens? Did he tell them to call upon any one of them?
No.
So why would you do it? Even more, did he tell you to call upon himself after his death?
No.
So why would you do it? In fact, he did the opposite. He forbade you from that. So how people can understand white from black and black from white, I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is that even if a person wanted to say, okay, but that story shows we could use it as a proof that the dead can hear. Not really, because it's from the unseen. It wasn't the Prophet ﷺ speaking to them in this world, speaking to the souls and so it wasn't anything like that. Yeah, and we have the even if you wanted to say, for argument's sake, that they can hear.
Yeah.
Okay. they can hear in certain events, in certain situations. For example, the Battle of Badr, when the dead of the Quraysh, the Prophet, they were rebuking the dead of the Quraysh, and they said, some of the companions said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, you speaking to the dead?" He said that by Allah, that they can hear me more clearly than you can. Yeah, yeah. And it was mentioned that Allah revived their spirits in order for them to hear the rebuking or the rebukement of the Prophet ﷺ as a punishment for them, and then remove those souls. And whether the souls will return for them for a short period of time or not, it was a miracle for the Prophet ﷺ. Allah caused that to happen. Yeah. So it's only in certain circumstances which can be confirmed by the Quran and the Sunnah. Even if someone, for argument's sake, let's just say for argument's sake, that we use that story there as an example to say that the dead can hear. Okay, let's just go with your argument and say, okay, the dead can hear. Okay, the dead can hear.
What the benefit?
Let's just say that the dead can hear. Now, so what? Okay, so what? Where do you want to go now? What do you want to do with that? So the dead can hear? Okay. Tell me, now what? Okay, they can hear. They can hear like you and me.
Yeah.
For argument's sake. Now what? What's your argument? Where are you leading to?
Okay. No.
You know where they're leading.
Yeah,
What they want to say is that because the dead can hear, you can ask them.
Yeah.
You can ask them. There is nothing in the Quran and the Sunnah which shows, orders you, or encourages you to ask of the dead. So even for argument's sake, if we were to say that they could hear, there's no evidence for asking from the dead. You can ask for the dead, meaning you can ask Allah to forgive the dead. You can make dua for the dead, but you cannot make dua to the dead. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
There's no evidence for making dua to the dead and asking them for things. No. You make dua for the dead.
Is there a hadith where it says that because you said Muhammad said that it is even haram to do that? Is there any hadith or anything that states that it is haram? The reason why I'm asking because I got my friends who pray down the masjid. They say that Muhammad can hear you if you make Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, he can hear it.
Who said he can hear it? Who said he can hear it?
The people down there.
I know, but what's their proof that he can hear their salams?
They use the hadith that the angels travel the world and looking for who's basically giving Islam, and they relay that information back. They use that as an evidence.
And that's the thing. So does he hear it?
No.
It's been relayed.
The angels are carrying the salams of his ummah to him.
But even so,
Yeah.
if he could hear us, which he can't.
So.
But then we also have the hadith of on the Day of Judgment, when basically the Muslims run towards him, the angels cut these people off from him, and the Prophet ﷺ, he questions the angels, why are you doing this? As if he doesn't know why, because obviously he doesn't. And the angels tell him, you do not know what they did after you, basically. Yani, these are the people of Bid'ah. So if he could hear everything, he wouldn't question them. He would already know why it's happened. So this in of itself is evidence of sorts to say that he's not aware of the current situation.
Absolutely.
Hearing or this.
Absolutely.
Even
And
they
that's
say, even one of the brothers there say that, which really surprised me. I had to ask him twice for me to really believe what he said. He said that Muhammad ﷺ knows the unknown, but just because of
Allah gave it him.
yeah, because he loves Allah, he says no. I'm not that smart. For me, I looked at him straight in the eyes. What are you saying? And even I gave them ayat which says that even he
لو
Muhammad
كنت أعلم الغيب لاستكثرت من الخير وما مسني السوء. If indeed I knew the unseen, then I would have gathered much good for myself and no harm would have befallen me.
Yes, exactly this ayah.
This is the Quran.
Yes, exactly this
Yeah?
ayah.
But the statement is partly true and partly false, depending upon what they intend. Yeah. So the Prophet does know the unseen in that which was revealed to him.
Yes, that's Exactly.
That's why he's a messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah? So he only knows from the unseen that which Allah has revealed to him. Other than that, he does not know. Allah is a revealer of the unseen to whomsoever he wills from his messengers. So the messenger knows the unseen from the revelation of his Lord. He doesn't know any of the unseen other than that. And he's not the owner of the unseen. And he doesn't have the keys to the unseen. That's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ explicitly told us that in the hadith. And Allah told us that explicitly in the Quran. So whosoever is mentioning these statements, they are reading the Arabic Quran. Yeah. They are reciting the Quran, but they are not understanding the Quran. They are not reading this Quran with understanding. And that's really the key to Iman, is understanding the Quran. Those are the things, is just the ideology that they've been taught.
But is this kufr? Would I?
Yes.
This is kufr.
But it's
yeah.
only kufr if they understand completely, right? Like, for example, if they've only been taught it. For example, like, I'm going to use the hadith where, you know, the one who doesn't pray, there's no difference between him and yani, kuffar, right? But if somebody doesn't understand that, you wouldn't just give them you wouldn't put takfir over them.
No, making takfir of someone and someone actually committing kufr are two different. There are two different situations. Yeah. Remember we spoke about wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing when to apply something and how to apply it and whom to apply it with. All of these things kind of come into that area. However, if someone believes that the Prophet knows the unseen and he has the keys to the unseen, and he's only not saying it because he's humbling himself to Allah. No. That's shirk. That's shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the Al-Alim, Al-Allam. Yeah, as we mentioned, he's the one who knows the seen and the unseen. The Prophet doesn't know that. He only knows what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed unto him. And the Prophet clearly negated that. He mentioned that if I indeed and if I knew the unseen, yeah, then I would have gathered much good for me and no harm would have touched me. So Allah has mentioned that for the Prophet to say, and that's in the Quran.
How do you inform this person that what they're saying is basically shirk?
You have to teach them. They've obviously learned this culturally. They've learned it from their community. They couldn't have learned it from the Quran, yeah, not with correct understanding. So they've learnt it through the eyes and the ears of their imams and sheikhs and so on and so forth. Have mercy with them. Many of these people can be guided to the right way. You have to treat them with gentleness. You have to show them the correct evidences and proofs. You have to be patient with them. You have to explain to them. You have to understand from where their evidences are, or lack of evidences are, and how to explain away their evidences, or taking the evidences, if they're authentic, and showing how it complements other evidences to give you a fuller picture. You remember how we explained Al-Qarib, Allah being near, and how that's understood contextually. When we look at all of the other verses and even the verses itself, when you understand them contextually, yeah, and when you understand them in light of other verses as well, that's how you have to treat them, these people. Understanding like Allah being Al-Ali and Al-A'la and Muta'al, the Most High, and so on and so forth. That we have to understand these things in the context upon which the Quran and the Sunnah relay them. Yeah, we have to be patient with them. Don't look at them with the eye of enmity. Yeah, because you know it's the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they are on what they are on at the moment. But that could change. That could change. I mean, how many people are upon misguidance and get guided every single day, or get guided towards the end of their life? So don't look down upon people, because that's a sign of arrogance. Yeah, but look at them with the eye of mercy and wish for guidance for them, and have patience with them, and try. As for if people are obstinate and difficult after a period of time and so on and so forth, then that's a different situation. And every situation calls for a different stance. But your starting point should be a starting point of education, patience, perseverance. That's the job of the messengers. That's how they started off. And if you ever want to understand the way of how to give da'wah, just read the stories of the prophets. Yeah, the story of the Prophet ﷺ and the stories of the other prophets. The story of Ibrahim, Noah. Look at how they give da'wah. Forget the people nowadays. Forget these groups and peoples and people of masjids and so on. Forget them. Yeah, look at the prophets. That's your example. Okay.
Jazakallah khair. Allah, thank you so much.
وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. And next week we have Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So we won't be having any Friday lessons because it's going to be Taraweeh, inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone needs their energy
Yeah.
to pray and to eat and to go to bed and so on and so forth. So it's a time for Quran and family and the masjid and stuff like that. So we will halt the lessons for Ramadan. However, on various occasions, there might be a talk before Isha, slightly before Isha, maybe like a 5-minute talk before Isha, or at the end of Taraweeh. And maybe on the odd occasion, maybe in the middle, I might just pop one in here and there, inshallah. Okay? But just reminders, just.
Are you gonna be like telling like the committee and then they'll put it in like the group chat or something?
I'll let them know that, inshallah. I'll let them know that, inshallah.
Are you leading the
No, I'm sure that they've got a proper qari to do it, inshallah. Hayakumullah. So may Allah bless you guys in your Ramadan and your fasting. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.